So let's go ahead and break down the mechanics of the sacrifice bunt. What I want to do is I'm just going to start from the feet and work up. When you step into the box, you already know that you're going to do a sacrifice bunt. So that will dictate where you place your feet in the batter's box. Now, if I'm going to sacrifice bunt and I go way back here in the box, I'm at a disadvantage because now I have lots of foul territory over here where I may bunt the ball. Also, the pitcher's ball may move more when I'm in the back of the box. So when I'm called upon to sacrifice bunt, I want to get as far forward in the box as possible. As a right-handed batter, I go ahead and point my right foot and have it as close to the inside line of the box as possible. You'll notice that my right foot is in front of home plate. That way I have more fair territory to work with, plus I'm going to bunt the ball before it moves too much. My right foot is very close to the line. My left foot is just even. My hips may be slightly open. The pitcher now is getting ready to present the ball to me. Many of you are probably wondering, when do I square to sacrifice bunt? Well, we're calling it the sacrifice because we're giving up ourselves. So you can turn to square your sacrifice bunt as early as you would like. The minute that pitcher presents the ball, go ahead and square around. You only need to move your front foot. Watch how my back foot just pivots. My pitcher has presented the ball. I'm comfortable in my batting stance. She starts to motion her pitch. All I do is pivot off my right foot, swing my left foot around. This is called a square position. They call it that because my hips are square or facing the pitcher. The weight is on the balls of my feet. The balls of my feet are the front pad underneath my foot. I'm slightly bent at the knees and I'm slightly bent at the hip. If I was to take a side shot, it looks something like this. My weight is forward. My arms are comfortably away from my body. My elbows are pointing down towards the ground. The reason for this, it's going to enable me to move the bat through the strike zone very efficiently. If I have a tendency to have one elbow up or this elbow up, notice how the barrel of the bat changes. Ideally, we want to have a bat that is parallel to the ground. Parallel means that the bat is in line with the ground. If the bat's this way, so is the ground. Arms comfortably away from my body. My elbows, you'll see my arms are slightly bent. They're not fully extended and they're not here close to my body. The reason for that is my arms will act as shock absorbers when I get ready to bunt. If I keep them out here stiff, I might have a tendency to bunt the ball really hard because I don't want them to get my lead runner out who's waiting at first base to get to second. Elbows slightly bent. The left hand is in a position where it can control the handle of the bat. A real quick check for the coaches is make sure that my batter can wave to the pitcher. If she can't wave to the pitcher and her hand's down here, she's waving to the ground, she's doing it wrong. Make sure that the left hand can wave to the pitcher. The right hand is in control of the barrel. Notice that I'm gripping the barrel of the bat with my index finger and just my thumb. I don't wrap my hands around the barrel of the bat because then I might go ahead and injure them when the ball makes contact on the barrel. And you may say, well, gosh, that's not too much control, but it really is. I can go ahead and let go of this bat with my left hand and control it with my right by just squeezing the barrel with my thumb and my index finger. My right hand grips the barrel of the bat where it begins. As the barrel begins right about here, this is where I want to grip it. Not out here, not in here. Right where the barrel begins. One of the most important things when we're sacrifice bunting is to make sure the barrel of the bat is at the top of the strike zone, right around the armpit area. If I have a tendency to have the barrel down here, I don't have a good angle to go ahead and bunt that ball on the ground. If I keep it at the top of the strike zone, when you're learning how to bunt, you only have to think of one thing. If the ball is down, bend my knees and move the barrel down. If the ball is up or above the barrel, I keep the barrel there because it's a ball. Now the count's 1-0, you've got even a better chance to go ahead and bunt a strike. Hands, my left hand waving to the pitcher, my right hand at the beginning of the barrel, the bat at the top of the strike zone, parallel to the ground. And as the pitch comes, all I'm doing is catching the ball with the barrel of my bat. Think of it as catching it. You know yourself, when you're catching a ball, you don't jump at it and you don't let it do this to you. You give with it. Your arms act as shock absorbers almost. As the ball comes in, you keep your head right next to the barrel of the bat. As the ball comes in, you make contact, bend the knees, and give with the ball. That allows the ball to die right in that area where it's a difficult play for the defensive players. As I'm in the square position to bunt the ball, I'm focusing on the pitcher's mid-thigh area because that's where the ball is going to be coming out of. I don't watch her motion. I don't want that to fool me, where I have a tendency to lean forward if she's got a quick motion and a slow release. So concentrate on focusing on that mid-thigh area, and as the ball comes out, coming towards the plate, you want to aim for the top half of the ball. The reason for that is so we have a nice ball that bounces down into the infield. If we get underneath the ball, we have the worst thing that happens, a pop-up. And that's a shame because sometimes you get a base hit, you get some momentum, you want someone to come in here and put that sacrifice bunt down, and now we've got a real rally going. Because you advance that runner to second, they're in scoring position. Hopefully you've got somebody coming up next that can crack a single or double and score that run, which could be the winning run. As we get better at sacrifice bunting, we can use the left hand, the hand that's gripping the handle of the bat, to direct the bunt. If the ball is pitched over the plate, we can go ahead and pull the handle back and direct the bunt towards the third base. Let's say our third baseman's playing way back, or she's slow. On the other end, we can go ahead and push the handle away from our body, direct the bunt down the first base side. This is something that you can work on in practice. As I mentioned before, the importance of having that right foot very close to the inside line of the batter's box, that's because I want to make sure that the barrel of my bat is covering the entire strike zone, the entire width of the plate. So what I do is, as I'm set up, I always want to check and see if I was to go ahead and drop the bat, I'd have the outside of the plate covered, which you can see I do. If I had a tendency to go ahead and step in the box right around here, square around, drop the bat, you would notice I don't have good coverage of the outside of the plate. That's an important thing to consider when you're setting up for your sacrifice bunt. Point that right foot almost right on the line of the inside line of the box, square around, bat at the top of the strike zone, eyes right down where the barrel of the bat is, and get ready for your bunt. If you're learning how to bunt, and this is kind of a scary position for you because you're kind of facing the pitcher, you can do what we call a 2-foot pivot. A pivot where both feet go ahead and just turn and point to the infield. Now the important thing to remember here, make sure you're in tight, in very close to the plate, so we can cover that outside pitch. Also, you may want to open up just a little bit, because if I'm not open like this, I don't have a solid base to move laterally to cover that outside pitch. Let me show you what I mean. If my feet are like we always say, shoulder width apart and even with each other. I turn both of them this way. It's almost like I'm on a tightrope. I don't have very much balance and I can't cover this outside pitch without falling over. So go ahead and set up just like you would for a sacrifice, but just open up a little bit. Open your hips a little bit, and what you can do is just pivot both feet, point your toes towards the infield. A lot of people say, what is a pivot? All a pivot is a twisting motion. This is a pivot. This is a pivot. Sometimes we say it's like squishing a bug or putting out a cigarette. I know none of you are smokers, but it's something like that to give you an idea of what a pivot is. Everything else is the same on the 2-foot pivot in terms of barrel, where the hands are, and contacting the top half of the ball. Let's now take a look at the 2 ways to do the sacrifice bunt. Notice how Gina and Karen did an excellent job of pivoting off their back foot. The reason for this is, remember, if you try and pivot off your front foot or the foot closest to the pitcher, you're going to go ahead and turn, and your back foot will actually come out of the batter's box. So remember the importance of always pivoting or turning off of that back foot.